Thank you very much, Clara, and good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for the AMRIT project team for the invitation to present the German ocean observation system developed so far. Let me start with a very quick historical overview. Well, Germany has not that long record as Italy, which was presented yesterday by Rosalia. We entered the scenery in the second half of the 19th century. And I only want to highlight some of these selected items. Germany was one of the founding member countries of the International Council for the Exploration of the Sea. We did a very famous Atlantic expedition in the 20s. And after World War II, we started to build up a fleet of research vessels in both parts of Germany. And meanwhile, we have a research vessel fleet of research institutes and agencies of 19 vessels. Beside of that, we also have built in the Antarctic a research platform called Neumayer Station, and also in 91 the research vessel Polarstern, which will be built in the beginning of the 30s as Polarstern 2. And Neumayer Station is now operating in a third version. I also want to take this opportunity to emphasize the political milestones for ocean monitoring, including environmental impact investigations, which has to be done by the industry in the application procedures. First of all, there is the law of sea as a very prominent milestone for the ocean management. Meanwhile, we have a suite of EU directives for impact assessment, Habitat Directive, Water Framework Directive, MSFD, and also Marine Spatial Planning, which had to be implemented into national law and mandated us agencies to be responsible for marine monitoring. And besides of that, we also have the conventions for the North Sea OSPAR and for the Baltic Sea HELCOM, where we also talked about monitoring and assessment of components of the marine environment. And last but not least, we are very busy in offshore wind energy, and the Offshore Wind Energy Act in 2017 also mandated BSH to perform investigations dealing with geotechnical issues, but also marine environment to provide the agency for the auctions of different areas for the industry to build offshore wind energy farms. Okay, so now let me give you an overview about the National Observing System as we have been developed so far. And I'm very happy to reference to one of the two EOS charts, national charts on ocean observing and monitoring in Europe, which has been produced by Jella Kansiora, Paul Trautmann-Hein, and some support by myself under this auspicious of GPI Oceans. You find in the upper right, the link to this chart where you can have an overview about the detail levels. I just use this detailed overview chart because it would take too much time to go over the different levels. But let me shortly give an overview about the two big pillars of ocean observing in Germany. And the first pillar is the left block. This is the block of the federal and here the states agencies which are mandated for ocean monitoring. This big block is for the implementation of the EU environmental directives. That's the Habitat Directive, Water Framework, and MSFD Directive. They are based on this directive, which have been implemented into national law, and the implementation of the law is done by the different agencies under the auspices of their ministries. The common fishery policies, where also quite a lot of fish monitoring is done, is under the Ministry for Fisheries, and here especially the Thünen institutes are very busy in fish monitoring in the North Sea, Baltic Sea, and also in the Atlantic. Here you find BSH under the Ministry of Transportation. We have this special Maritime Act, which mandated us for ocean observation. And Here in this list, you see a lot of columns, but there's also a lot of cross connections, which I will illustrate in detail on the next slide. A very special one is here the Ministry of Economy, which is responsible for offshore wind energy. And also here, as I mentioned, BSH is mandated, but this will be a temporary task because when all the areas are pre-investigated, the ministry will give up this activity because they themselves see not as a monitoring body in the North Sea and the Baltic. The right block is marine research under the leadership of the Federal Ministry of Research. They are dealing with their national programs, which is called MARE-M, but also with the European research programs, namely Horizon and LIFE. And the operational daily work is contracted to two organizations. One is called Research Center Jülich, or PTJ, and the other one is has the name Zug. It's hosted in Berlin, and both are doing the operational stuff on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Research. The lower block, that's mainly the data stuff. There we have only a rough, sorry, that was too fast. A rough overview here in this chart. Currently, we're working on in Germany on a special survey to get a more clearer picture about the data landscape. We plan to finalize this survey by the end of the year, and this will be a very, very helpful document for the updating of the German EOS chart. Here in the lower right corner, we have the connections of the databases to the European level, namely EMODnet, and also to the global system called GOOS and OceanOps. And especially here, we have something which is called NSFD. That's a national data infrastructure for the research community, which is to some way an analogous to that what we done on the authority side by implementing the INSPIRE directive. Okay, this slide should illustrate in more detail, first of all, the suite of different agencies which are responsible for the implementation of the different environmental EU directive, where the majority of monitoring is performed. The upper layer is the federal layer, the federalist agencies, which are responsible in different extent to the implementation of these three directives. The yellow layer is the states layer. Here, all the involved agencies are responsible for the implementation of all three directives. And this white layer is the monitoring layer. And here, except of BSH and the Thünen Institute for Fisheries, all of these agencies are subcontracting companies as well as marine research institutions, and they also launch small research projects to fulfill their obligations. And this is the part where the marine research institutes come in. All of the data are hosted in different spatial GDIs and data lakes, but the products are available by the portal of the Marine Data Infrastructure Germany, which is based on the INSPIRE directive. So as we have a big suite of different state and federal agencies involved into this business, the governments decided in 2012 to establish a federal state and working group for the North Sea and the Baltic, dealing with the implementation of these different directives among the federal system of Germany. And here you see a chart about the structure of this working group. We have the political level here in the upper part. This is the level of the ministries. Here we have a coordination office. This is operated by the senior officers from the ministry as well as from the heads of the agencies and the leaders of the different working groups, which are one for assessment and monitoring, assessment monitoring data. This is for measures and social economy. And the fourth one is for quality assurance. And especially monitoring and assessment has a suite of sub-working groups, which deals with the different descriptors of the MSFT. So the lower part is the scientific part, and the upper one is the political decision responsible body. And here's some short examples from the monitoring. On the left side, this is the stations from the summer survey of BSH, which we perform each year in August, September. In the middle, we have a chart from the Leibniz Institute of Baltic Sea Research in Warnemünde. The yellow box is the national monitoring behalf on BSH and funded by BSH. But IOW is the only national research institute which performs long-term observation throughout the whole Baltic Sea by their own funds. Both of us are under strong pressure and shortcutting of these funds. Up to now, we are able to do that, but we have a very harsh discussion ahead of us when it comes to funding of future surveys. On the right one, there's an example from the biology. So this is an overview about the benthic and mobile species monitoring in the German North Sea. These green dots are sampling sites for benthos. The orange ones, for example, are sampling sites for monitoring seals. And these dashed lines are the transects for monitoring seabirds and marine mammals. So as I mentioned, the Marine Research Institutes are supporting the governmental monitoring. And here on this slide, I would like to explain how the Marine Research Institutes are organized in Germany. Well, first of all, we have different big research institutes like RW, GEOMA, and others, and they belong to different research associations. We have the Helmholtz organization with RW, GEOMA, Herion, and the German Center for Space. But there are also other research institutions not dealing with the marine environment, as well as with the Leibniz associations, where inter alia, IOW, and the Center for Marine Tropical Research in Bremen are organized. Then we have quite a lot of Max Planck Institutes organized in the Max Planck organization. And with respect to marine environment, we have the Microbiological Institute in Bremen, as well as the Institute for Metrology here in Hamburg. Another one is the Senckenberg Association and some museums. One of them is the German Marine Museum in Stralsund. And we also have quite a lot of strong marine branches in the university in Hamburg, Bremen, Rostock, Oldenburg, and Kiel, which also are very active in the marine business, especially Marung and Kiel Marine Science. These different institutes, not the associations, but the institutes, are additionally organized in two big other associations. One is the Consortium for German Marine Research, and the other one is the German Alliance for Marine Research. The first one was established about some 15 years ago. I'm not sure about that. And DAM is a little bit younger. They are now, I think, have their 7th or 8th birthday. Meanwhile, the institutions realized that this is some sort of a double structure, and therefore last year they decided to go for a merger, and the discussions are already finished, and the decision is more or less that the merger will be implemented by the end of this year or at the beginning of 2026. Okay, so the new organization will be named DAM, German Alliance for Marine Research. What I now present is the present structure of DAM, which will be, I think, more or less the same, but it has to be adapted due to the merger. But nonetheless, I think it gives quite a good overview how the research is performing. And here I present you the three big research missions of DAM, which are sub-programs under the head of the big MARE-N program of the Federal Ministry of Research. The first one is the marine carbon sink called CDR-MARE, where the role of the ocean in the uptake and storage of marine carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is in the center of interest. The second one is dealing with sustainable use of the environment, protection and sustainable use of the oceans, called SustainMare. And the third one, which has been launched last year, is dealing with marine extreme events and natural hazards. There are further missions planned ahead, and the important thing here is that these missions are financed as well as by the Federal Ministry of Research, as well as by the Coastal States Ministry for Research and Education. And both levels insisted that these missions are very closely linked to the application. They should be so-called co-designed by the end users, and that's the agencies I just mentioned in the slides before. So we have a very strong cooperation similar to the implementation of the EU directives here in the research missions. And they are very targeted and user-oriented. And the recent evaluation of them came to the result that this is a very big business, a very big benefit. And therefore, the further funding of the German Alliance for Marine Research is guaranteed, although the funding will be a little bit less. Okay, here's one slide to the structure of the DAM. We have different bodies: a General Assembly, the Executive Board, then the Administrative Council. That's some sort of a secretary. There's an International Advisory Board, and there's also a Stakeholder Forum. And here on the next slide, you see the members of the Stakeholder Forum, which are quite a lot. First of all, the different ministries, not only for funding, but also interested in the products of these missions on the federal level as well as on the state level. Also, business associations are involved from the offshore wind energy, from the fisheries, the maritime industry, as well as marine technology, and also the German Association for Mechanical and Plant Engineering, VDMA. That's the biggest industrial association in Germany. One of the key players is, for example, Siemens. We have other agencies and associations involved for coastal engineering and also NGOs, as well as from the European level, JPI Oceans. Sorry.
Manfred, yeah, you have 2 more minutes left.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. And okay, with that, I jump to the next one. So all of this was addressed to the waters of national jurisdictive, what is done under waters beyond that. And from the agencies part, we only have 3 actions. That's deep sea mining in the Pacific and the Indic Ocean. We have a program for the European eel in the Sargasso Sea by Thünen, and of course the big Argo program coordinated by BSH. All of the rest of the observations in the open sea are done by the marine research institutions presented under DAM and KDM. Connections between national, EU, and global levels, I can make that very quick because I already introduced the Blano and DAM stuff. We also have a national GCOS system led by the German Weather Service, and we have an annual meeting in March and April each year. The funding is done for the monitoring by the ministries and by the research, as I mentioned, by the MARE program. We have an open point, and that is the decision-making level on the political level, and there we are now try to be active in two committees, try to push ocean observation and sustained observation in Germany. On the European level, this is mentioned in some other presentations this week. It's EUROGOOS, EOS, JPA Oceans, and Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance. I mentioned EUROGOOS. We also involved in SBEP, and I also mentioned the big funding programs of the EU. And on the global level, we are in GOOS and different others like EDO and GAPCO, as well as in G7 FSOI. So on referring to the three questions, will your observing network use AMRIT services? Well, the prototyping of IT services by AMRIT is a valuable technical input for future coordination of ocean observation at European level. From my point of view, it has the potential to complement DG MARE initiative for the digital platform of ocean observation. And based on the user-friendly applicability of its services, it's fair to assume that more research infrastructures and agencies will use these tools depending on what comes after AMRIT. How would your observing network contribute to AMRIT? Well, that's quite short, but last week we had a meeting in Arctic Rules, and RV will be in touch with AMRIT regarding an exchange of experience on dashboards for sensors, which might help support the special IT developments in AMRIT. And the last question, beyond the services, I think AMRIT is already a very ambitious R&D project that should focus on the development of some applications to be successful. And by that, it can or may promote more coordination at the European level in the future, which in turn will foster leveraging synergies in ocean observation on the national and international level. And with that, I close my presentation. Sorry for the time that I spent too much, and I'm open to questions.